Hello, everyone. Today's lecture will be on politics of public opinion in United States. So, how political scientists try to measure public opinion? They try to do surveys on various populations. Important feature of American public opinion over the past few decades is that the divide between conservatives and liberals grows wider with each year. People become more polarized in their perceptions of American politics. So, general definition, public opinion is a collection of views about public policy issue, political event, new ideology, new idea, stuff like this. Political socialization is a way in which people try to immerse themselves in politics and try to get educated about it. In many cases, it could happen like against your will. For instance, your family could influence your political views, and like you don't get to choose which family you got born into, right? Some like friends or colleagues could influence your political views. Your like classmates in high school or some other place might influence your political views. Your preferences for like news consumption. All this stuff influences your political views, and in general, it's called political socialization. Thing is, as you might see that. This is an example of how like partisan preferences differ in American society. So, for instance, 31% of Americans said that both of their parents are strong Democrats, 27 like weak Democrats, and so on. We see similar numbers about Republicans. Like 27% of Americans say that both of their parents are strong Republicans. 32% that both of their parents are kind of weak Republicans. And a bunch of Americans saying that there is like no consistency. Some people have like Republican father, Democratic mother, and vice versa. Political ideology is a set of beliefs about like the way in which society should develop. And again, it is in some cases it changes with age and like how you go through your life. In some cases, I have heard that your political ideology might change because of change in your economic status. Some people who become like more and more wealthy, they tend to become more conservative because usually Republican Party implements policies favoring wealthy people. They try to cut taxes, for instance. Political polarization is a phenomenon which we observe in the United States and many other countries, where people are very like dead set in their ideologies and their beliefs, and they're not willing to change and compromise. Important thing about political polarization, there are some media which are pretty biased in their coverage. For instance, like Fox News is pretty conservative. CNN, MSNBC are pretty liberal, I would say. There are almost like no media somewhere in the middle as it used to be in like 70s or 60s. This is a general debate in American politics. Usually Democrats, people who are more liberal, they want to implement more social programs to decrease the level of inequality which exists in this country. Republicans are usually promoting policies where they want to invest more money in the military. And this is a spectrum of ideology in the United States, and obviously most people, like, there are not many like communists or fascists in America. So most people in this country, they fall somewhere between liberal and conservative. So the way political scientists try to measure public opinion is polling. They try to ask a bunch of questions, asking people about their views on particular events, particular public policies, stuff like this. So this is like a general process of polling, very like general. First, how you do it, you want to study, for instance, attitudes toward Israel, for instance. You want to identify survey population in a sample. Population is like a whole bunch of people who you want to study, and sample like a select few people from which you are going to make a generalization about your population. Because in most cases, it's very hard to study like whole population. It's very expensive. The only case would be, which is kind of close, is census, which takes place every 10 years. In most other cases, what people do, they try to study samples, some like small group of people, which hopefully represents population. Then what you do, you prepare questions you want to ask, and you want to like validate them. You want to make sure that people with like different age, different level of education understand questions consistently. Because if they're not understanding them consistently, your results could be biased. And then what you do, you try to contact people in your sample. Then you like analyze and report your data. Important thing about surveys and how representative they are, only random samples are truly representative samples. What I mean by that, in a random sample, every like member of your population has equal chance of getting into your sample. If chances are not equal, it means that your sample is biased and it's not representative. You basically cannot make conclusions about population from your sample. Yeah, and obvious things like polling questions should be simple, easy to understand. If you are like and obviously there should be no bias in your questions. Sometimes pollsters do like leading questions when they try to kind of influence public opinion in a particular way. This actually also happens. Yeah, margin of error. Whenever you read the poll, you see this sign, like let's say +2, -2, which says that there is like an error in the measurement that pollsters see, like they probably make. Important thing to understand, and not many people, I think, know this. This margin of error, for instance, if you are comparing Trump popularity with, let's say, Biden, it means that if a margin of error ±2, you have to apply this margin of error to like specific number for Biden and specific number for Trump. Polling technologies, thing is, depending on the kind of population and kind of question you're trying to ask, you might use different ways in which you can access like people in your sample. It could be mail, land phone, internet, social media, stuff like this. Obviously, for instance, if you are trying to contact, if you're studying like attitudes of senior citizens about some issue, you might have trouble getting many of them using like social media or internet. But for instance, if you're trying to study attitudes of like, I don't know, younger people on a particular issue, social media, internet would be like a decent way trying to contact people in your sample. There are many problems with polls, which are like very difficult to address. This is why in many instances we see that polls give inaccurate information. First, lack of respondent knowledge. People just may have like no knowledge on a particular issue. I remember when I was a PhD student at Rutgers, I had to code results from a national survey from people on like various subjects, like role of the government, healthcare insurance, like various public policy issues. And what I have seen with my own eyes, many people responded, I don't know, like I'm not aware of this issue. I have like no opinion on this issue. So when you try to measure something and people actually have no opinion, that presents a problem for a pollster. Social pressure. For instance, many people say that like polls have been around about Trump versus Clinton, Hillary Clinton election, in that election, because it was socially like undesirable to say that you are supporting Donald Trump, and many people, some of them, just have not been honest in those answers. Like imagine you are sitting like having dinner with your wife, and for instance you are Republican and your wife is a like Democrat, and you get a phone call asking, and some pollster asks you, who are you going to support in the election? Well, maybe you don't want to upset your wife and you say, I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton. But when you're in this, get your like ballot box, it's like nobody can see you there, so you vote for like whoever you want to vote for. So this is why social pressure sometimes allows screws up with the results of polls. Sampling errors, like in the way which you draw sample from your population. Wrong technology for target population. Again, I said maybe it's not a good idea to reach young people via, let's say, a land phone. Manipulation by respondents, data analysis error, and high marginal error. Yeah, this is one of the examples how different like ways to administer polls could lead to different results in those polls. Cell phone is a like serious issue. Area codes for cell phones could be misleading. For instance, I still have my cell phone number from the days when I lived in like Washington, D.C., and now I live in Philadelphia. So if somebody wants to have a sample and using like a cell phone database, they could not get like geographically distributed numbers. Another thing would be many people like have filters on their phones, stuff like this. Or like blocking of numbers which are not in your contact list. So cell phones are like hard thing to deal with. What stuff affects political opinion? Obviously, beliefs, political socialization, what kind of factors, again, your family, your friends, your education, stuff like this, your identity. If you have a particular identity, it's like sometimes less likely to vote for a party which has like a different identity. Life experiences, for instance, if someone in your family have been victim of gun violence, it's like probably going to affect the way you view like gun regulations in this country. Geographic location, again, you could grow up in some red states and some people grow up in blue states. Family, friends, education, resources, the more like resources, informational resources, which are available to you, which you are like trying to use, it might influence your political opinions. Like, for instance, in this, like, if you look at various conflicts, various wars like Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, if you tend to consume political information from like particular source type, it probably will like reinforce the views you already have. Obviously, political elite sometimes could be influential, and the media. Yeah, this is like how different groups of people voted in last presidential election. Quite expectedly, 53% of men voted for Republicans, and 57% of women voted for Democrats. Like race, similar observation, 87% of African Americans, Asians and Hispanics, 65%. So minorities usually vote in like bigger numbers for Democrats than white population. A similar trend with age. The younger you are, the more likely you vote for Democrats. And again, income, a similar trend we can observe. Yeah, so thing is, public opinion might have various effects on, let's say, election. If some people think that this candidate is like probably going to win, they might stay home. Oh, this issue is not like important. That candidate is going to win anyway. And if they stay home, the other candidate might win. Important thing about public opinion, it actually changes over time. As you can see here, over the years, most of Americans now support same-sex marriage, and it was like a completely different picture just 20 years ago. Views on immigration vary greatly, but now most Americans think that immigration is a good thing. In terms of political institutions, Congress is the least favorable political institution in this country. Well, as you can see, for instance, in House of Representatives, after Speaker McCarthy was, I guess, fired, Republican Party has like difficulty coming up with the speaker, which presents Congress as not very functioning institution. And when pollsters ask people, okay, let's say you worry about budget deficit, how we can address it, what should we cut? Obviously, not many people want to cut Social Security, aid to education, healthcare, but many people want to cut foreign economic aid, foreign military aid, stuff like this. Though in terms of numbers, these numbers are not very large. Much more money goes to Social Security and healthcare in U.S. federal budget than to like foreign military aid or foreign economic aid. These numbers are just not comparable. Yeah, an example of low approval ratings of U.S. Congress historically. Thank you very much.